Good evening and welcome back to our virtual Dominion Energy Jazz Cafe. Fresh off their latest project, The Buzz and the Bells, we welcome back Afro-Zen Allstars.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we are Afro-Zen Allstars. We're thrilled to be here. And as Robert said, we're celebrating our newest recording, The Buzz and the Bells. That first song was written by the late Issa Bagayogo of Mali, and it's called Madomba. We're going to be focusing primarily on tunes from the record tonight. And we're going to follow that with a piece from Ethiopia. We're primarily known for our Ethiopian material. This is a traditional tune called Kulun Mankwaleshi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope those of you at home watching are dancing. Let's meet the band. To my left, we have John Lilley on alto and tenor saxophone. The crowd goes wild. Toby Whitaker on trombone. Christopher Sclafani on the baritone. Vasi on guitar. Keith Cable on percussion. Scott Milstead on drums. The mighty Brian Cruse on bass. And I'm George Lowe. And we're going to continue with another traditional Ethiopian piece. This tune is based on an Ethiopian melody that's sung at funerals. It's called Duel. like to hear that at my funeral. Or I'd like for somebody to hear it at my funeral. We're going to follow that with the only thing we're going to play this evening that's not on the new record. And this is a piece by the great musician, composer, singer, political activist, Thomas Mapfumo from Zimbabwe. And it's called Nyoka Musango, and it's an object lesson about concerning avoiding snakes in the grass, both literal and figurative. And as soon as I make sure my guitar is in tune, we're going to play it.
All stars, that's energy. Nothing but energy. Especially on a day that sort of drained the energy out of me. I don't know about you all. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing with us just a taste of what we can get from your latest project. George, would you give the guys a break and tell us a little bit more about the album?
I'd love to.
Over here. Well, George, welcome back to the show and thank you for bringing Afro-Zen Allstars back to us.
It's a major pleasure to be here, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and it's really good to see you again.
And you. I've had the opportunity to interview several people a second time, and when I do that, I forego the first questions because I'm sure we've covered them. So we'll skip right ahead to our conversation. Tell us about the album first. I want to learn about the project. When did you start dreaming of recording it, and why now?
We actually started recording it at the end of 2017.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we had a session. It was a year after our first CD was released, and we were ready to go. And we had a lot of problems in the studio. But we got there and got set up, and my amplifier was making an astonishing, unbelievable, horrible noise. And we went ahead and recorded because the studio engineer, who's just brilliant at his job, he assured me that he'd be able to remove those frequencies. And I asked him if he'd ever done that, and he said no, but he really thought that the technology existed to be able to do it. And I was in the same room with the horns, and my amp was baffled somewhat, but that buzz was all over the horn mics as well, and all over the room mics, and my brain was just fried. It was spinning in my skull, and my moods can take up a lot of psychic space, and I can cast a pall over things. And my wife came later in the day to bring lunch, and she said it was like walking into a funeral.
Oh, wow.
And our previous experience had just been so incredibly lighthearted and positive and just perfect. And I didn't even listen to, we recorded all day, and the noise just got worse and worse. And I didn't even listen to the recordings until about 10 months later. I was so depressed about it. And when I did, and my own performance on them was subpar, was poor. And but everybody else played incredibly well, and there were just some amazing performances there. And so we made plans. We went back in, and we did a little more recording. But I need to backtrack. When I went into the studio, and Lance Kohler, the engineer, the great one, put it on, played it back, noise completely, totally gone. Gone from the mic on my guitar, gone from the horn mics, gone from the room mics, gone. When I said, what happened to the noise? He's just said, what noise? And so we worked on it some more, and we did a very minimum of percussion overdubs, and it was virtually done when COVID shut everything down. And so it took until this year to make it happen finally. And I am incredibly proud of it. It's the finest thing that I've ever been involved with, and I'm so just, I'm in constant amazement that I'm in association with these absolutely mind-bogglingly wonderful musicians.
Well, I mean, we're witnessing that tonight. I wonder, does the story you just told impact the name of the album?
Yes. I can't tell the whole story without I can't tell the whole story without saying something negative about someone that I love, and I don't want to do that.
Don't do it.
But what I will say is that the buzz and the bells are both things that happened that you don't hear on the record.
I was wondering when you told me the title, I wonder what does that mean? I can't imagine where that comes from. That's a clever nod to the experience of recording it.
It's what you don't hear.
Yeah, I love it. You were telling me before the cameras were rolling about some acclaim the album has already generated. Tell the folks at home exactly how they can learn more about how others are hearing it.
We have just had an article about us and about the record published on the website of Afropop Worldwide. Afropop Worldwide is like the Rolling Stone of African-based music, and they absolutely loved the record, and they featured it last week. And you can read the article on their website, Afropop Worldwide, I think, .org, and it was written by a gentleman named Banning Eyre, who was a guitar player in one of my favorite artists, Thomas Mapfumo of Zimbabwe. We played one of his songs tonight. He was a guitar player in his band for a long time, and he's a music educator and an author, and he's the senior editor of their website and the senior producer of their radio show. They have a syndicated radio show that's syndicated to public radio stations all over the world, including in Richmond. And he's working on, he told me he's working on a program of interesting covers of African music and hopes to include us.
Wow, congratulations on that. That's very exciting.
I'm so excited. I can't even stand it.
Well, the smile on your face tells that story. What is the form? Can you describe to us the form of African music? Does it always look like the ensemble you're playing here tonight, or some of these tunes that you're covering, were they originally written for 2 guitars and a bass and 3 horns?
Nothing that we do was composed with an ensemble like ours in mind. We did one song this evening that in its original form was, it consisted of shakers and bass guitar and a sanza, which is the Cameroonian version of the mbira, or what people in this country often call a thumb piano, and voice. And I expanded it none of the stuff is really, in its original form, bears close resemblance to what we do. I've adapted and expanded it and put my thumbprint on everything.
Right, and so that leads me to the question I really want to ask. What inspired you to take that music and then sort of rework it into this ensemble?
Well, the primary thing is the source material for what we do is stuff that I'm just obsessed by and that I dearly, dearly love. And this music is it's had a tremendous impact on my life and on my mental health, and it's an incredible source of joy. And what I'm hoping to do is to increase the amount of joy in the world, and I would love for everybody that I know, everybody in Richmond, to hear performances of this music. But most of the giants that birthed this music, a majority of them are no longer with us.
Yeah.
And the ones that are with us are not coming to Richmond to perform for us. Yeah. And it means a lot to me. I want to hear this stuff performed live. I want to see it. I want to hear it. And the only way to make that happen is to do it.
Last time you and I spoke, you expressed that a lot of these guys are your heroes in music. It must mean an awful lot to recreate what they've written and then to receive accolade that perhaps they themselves received.
Yes.
You're part of a great list, I think. Where can we, here in Richmond, Virginia, where can we go and hear you live and perform this great tradition?
Well, we have, we went a long time without playing, without even seeing each other. We went like more than 18 months without
Wow.
seeing each other at the beginning of the pandemic. And now this year, things are opening up for us. We just did a CD release party at Hardywood on the 9th, and it was well attended and was just a massive amount of fun. And we're going to be playing there on a regular basis. We're playing at the Hardywood out in the West End on West Creek as part of an all-day mini festival thing in conjunction with the release of some Blackberry beverage. The event is called Blackberry Jam, and we're playing it's June 11th. We're playing outdoors at I think 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Later this month, on the 22nd, in just 2 weeks, we're playing also outdoors at Bramley Park.
Oh, wow.
It's a Friday night. We're playing, there's a monthly music series at Forest Hill Park called Music in the Park. And it's once a month on a Sunday afternoon during the summer, and we'll be wrapping up the season in October, on October 2nd. And something I'm really excited about, I got contacted by an Ethiopian band from Addis Ababa, and they are touring the U.S. in the late summer, and they wanted to know if they were aware of what we do, and they wanted to know if I could put together a gig in Richmond where we could share a bill. And
Wow.
I did, and so we're going to be playing with Kwankwa, which is a band that is keeping alive the Ethiopian string tradition. We'll be sharing a bill with them, and hopefully sharing the stage with them on the 7th of September at Hardywood.
Wow. Congratulations. That's exciting.
That's incredibly exciting.
Don't think I'm doing anything September 7th. I might try to come and check that
Yes,
out.
you are. You're coming to Hardywood.
I guess I do have plans. You're right about that. You said earlier that, you're playing music inspired by the African tradition, but it's Ethiopia. I think you said that you mainly are playing. What is it about Ethiopian music that draws you?
Well, it's unique. It's different from everything else. We may have gone over this before, I don't remember, but it's the only country in Africa that was never colonized. And Ethiopians are very serious about protecting their cultural integrity from outside influences, and consequently, Ethiopian musical tradition doesn't sound like anything else. It's all based on 4 pentatonic scales that are unusual to the Western ear, and it has to my ear, it's got just a very, very compelling, really cool, mysterious quality. And the first time that I heard any of it, it just took a few seconds for me to be hooked forever. So when we first started as a band, that was probably 90% of what we did. And we have a lot of Ethiopian music in the book.
Right.
We've got like 3 dozen pieces. But I'm extremely interested in musics from all over Africa and elsewhere. So now the book has expanded to almost 100 tunes.
Wow.
And stuff from all over Africa.
Wow. What is the rehearsal process like here? I see music stands, I see sheets of music, but I also see those without. How much is reading? How much is improvisation? And how do you strike that balance?
Well, I myself just memorize everything because I'm not a sight reader. I can read anything,
Right.
but I can't read it in real time. the guys in the band are all just massive pros, experts at that stuff, and I can hand them a difficult chart, and more often than not, they'll play it correctly the first time.
Right.
And they work hard at getting inside these other traditions. So we develop these ensemble parts, and then during when it comes time to improvise, they work hard at trying to get inside these traditions and express themselves from within that, and I think they do a really good job at it.
They do. I'm particularly impressed by this brass section playing as an ensemble. However, each one of them seems to be playing their own solo line and keeping up with the sometimes repetitious themes from the rhythms or from the guitars themselves. It's quite impressive to see these polyrhythms and these polyphonic lines moving. How do you control all of that, and how do you hear it while you're playing?
I'm not really sure how to answer that. I don't control it.
Just gotta let it happen.
I control the ensemble parts. But I have so much respect for all of these guys as players and as creators that I present the ensemble parts, I present the arrangements, and when it comes time to express themselves, I get out of the way.
You say that we're going to wrap up or come up to the end of our interview because we've got a lot of exciting music to come next, but you talked earlier about how a lot of these tunes originally were sung. Do those words in the songs or the way the vocalists use their voices to articulate the music, do those things influence the way you arrange?
Absolutely. The Ethiopian music, Ethiopian singers are virtuosic, and they do very technical, ornamental singing, and I, as much as I am able, I try to get those lines down and from their voice to our instruments.
I'm going to have to look up some of these songs. I mean, my expertise is not in Ethiopian music, but what I'm hearing tonight is fascinating, and I wonder what the stories are that these singers are speaking about as they're telling the story. I mean, I'm hearing it come through in your playing and then the other guys playing, but what are the words, I wonder?
Well, there's there was a booming scene in Ethiopia in the late 60s and early 70s prior to 1974, when a military coup ousted Haile Selassie and installed what turned into a totalitarian dictatorship that shut the culture down for almost 2 decades. But in the late 90s, a French gentleman named Francis Falsetto, who had been introduced to Ethiopian music in the late 80s. He was at a party in France, and somebody put on a cassette of Ethiopian music, and within a month he had dropped everything, and he was in Ethiopia, and he spent like a month there. When he left, he had in his suitcase the master tapes for what was the first release of tradition-based modern Ethiopian music released in the West, which was Era Melamela by Mahmoud Ahmed, and we play that, and that was the first thing that I heard back in '87, and we play a bunch of those things. But he was responsible for that record coming out in the West in '87, but in the late '90s, he collaborated with a major French label and did the Ethiopique series, and there are, I believe, 31 releases, and most of it is from this stuff that was recorded and released in Ethiopia in the late 60s and early 70s, and they're deluxe packages, and the words are in there.
Well, that's what I'm looking for, and I think I've got the right contact. I'll be fine. Well, George, thank you for the education tonight, and thank you for the sounds. Every time I hear you, my ears learn something new. I think we've got 4 more tunes in the second set, all from the new album.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to
Absolutely.
hearing them. If you're ready to give them to us.
Absolutely.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
Thank you, George. Afro-Zen Allstars.
So we're going to continue with a piece written by the great Francis Bebe from Cameroon. It's called Binta Madialo, and the original song is about how beautiful the women in West Africa are, which is certainly the truth. Thank you, thank you, thank you. John Lilley on the tenor. Yeah. We're going to follow that up with a piece that is, it's based on a tune by the Doktaris that came out in the 90s. And there's a great story that goes along with this song, but time doesn't permit. So we're just going to play it. It's called Doktari Disaster. Doktari Disaster. That's the second track on the new record, The Buzz and the Bells. And we're going to follow that up with an original piece that was inspired by a piece of classic music from Ethiopia from back in the 70s by the great singer Tlahun Gesese. And it's called Longing. Oh, yes. Chris Vasi on the guitar. Toby Whitaker on the trombone. We're going to finish up with our take on an old traditional Ethiopian piece. And as are most Ethiopian tunes, it's sort of a love song. It's called Melamela. The gist of it is what can I do to make her love me? What's the trick? Any guesses? Before we continue, we want to thank the Virginia Museum for having us. We want to thank the Richmond Jazz Society, B.J. Brown, all the great people there, and you at home for watching. We've got lots of gigs lined up. The calendar is up to date on the website, AfroZenAllstars.org. Please check it out and please come in and share some joy with us. Thank you.
Afro-Zen Allstars, RVAs, guardians of the global groove. I think that's what they say. Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing us a little bit of that get down in polyrhythm and polyphonics. We appreciate you for that. Richmond Jazz Society, again, for sending us such stellar musicians such as these. To Dominion Energy for helping us pay for them. Remember, Tommy Production still has those cameras, and Michael Hirsch is back at the boards in that booth. Thank you to you all, gentlemen. Those of you at home, thank you for loving with us. Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for learning from us. In Richmond, Virginia, at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts from the Leslie Cheek Theater stage, this again has been our virtual Dominion Energy Jazz Cafe. I'm Robert Fennard. Good night.